In today's video, we're going over the top 30 fantasy quarterbacks to start off this ranking series. If you like it, subscribe and like the video. If you hate it, please don't tell me and then still like it and subscribe. So let's get into it. Starting off with the top 5. And sadly, I'll probably never get any of these guys because I do follow more of that late round quarterback strat, but setting that aside. Josh Allen, clear number 1 guy, because he's been a top 2 guy for 4 straight years now. Nobody else has done that twice in that span, and he's done it 4 times. So the consistency beats out any sort of weapons problem there may be. Mahomes is your ADP quarterback too. And look, I get it. He's the best quarterback in the world by a decent chunk, but that's also in real football. And thankfully for my physical body at least, we're not playing real football anymore. The year that he was the fantasy quarterback 1 was 2018. 2018. Since then, his points per game rank: quarterback 6, quarterback 2, quarterback 5, quarterback 3, and quarterback 12. I hate to be against him, because I would bet my life that he improves in a huge way this season. The positive regression is coming. It's massive. His points per game over expected was 4 points worse last year than it was the year prior in 2022. Like, he led the NFL in dropped air yards. That was a big part of it. But it's still nowhere close to being worth the quarterback 2. Hurts, on the other hand, I would say I'm positive that his scoring touchdowns in terms of rushing will decrease. But he still averaged 20 points per game every single year of his career. And that's partially because he has 35% more design runs than any other quarterback, including guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. So Kellen Moore comes in an offensive coordinator now. I think that helps the passing game, and it's a guaranteed top 5 pace. Another guy that I'd have above Mahomes is Lamar Jackson. Quarterback 1 in the second half of the year, better than Josh Allen, 23 points per game in that second half. And he still has positive regression coming. So his touchdowns per attempt were worse than his career average by a decent chunk. So it basically means that if he plays the same, naturally his touchdowns are going to increase this year, even though he was averaging 23 points per game in the second half. So it's another safe option. And lastly, you got Anthony Richardson. He was my number 1 value quarterback in 2023. He had the best points per snap since 2019 Lamar, MVP, 28 fantasy points per game Lamar Jackson. Number 1. If you would have told me that in August of last year, I would have had to kiss you. Heartbreaking that it didn't work out, but his upside speaks for itself. Tremendous. And even if he does suck, it was limited sample size. Limited sample size. So he could suck, even if he does. He's going to be an amazing fantasy quarterback because of that rushing. Again, it was a limited sample size, but his goal line rush rate was actually better than Jalen Hurts. Moving to our slide of quarterback 6 to 10. 2 of my favorite values of the year right here. The first one, I just don't get. Very rarely do I feel overly confused on why a player is priced at their ADP in this year. That is Kyler Murray. He's the fantasy quarterback 4 all time. And he is priced at ADP quarterback 10 because I don't know why. He's elite rushing, the 32nd ranked defense in the preseason. I just don't see the negative. Last year was the year he was coming off the ACL, and he still beat this ADP. Now he just adds one of the greatest receiver prospects ever, and we get him on the Jeep. The other is Jayden Daniels. And I want to say this clearly. I am, sadly, not a fan of Daniels as a quarterback in the league. If I was a Commanders fan is what I mean, personally wouldn't be stoked to draft him. But I'm not a scout expert yet. And 2, he could be garbage and still be a quarterback 1 in fantasy. Justin Fields last year, for example, I have not seen one positive thing about him in months, for a good reason. And he was the fantasy quarterback 5 after week 3. He's number 3 in my valuable volume rank, which is huge for me. That rushing, he's projected for over 100 carries. There isn't much downside as long as he can stay on the field. He should be a quarterback 1. Now, still going right before him is the other LSU quarterback, Joe Burrow. A healthy Burrow is still elite. Weeks 5 to 10 is when he was good. Weeks 1 to 4, he had that calf strain. He says, week 5, I'm all right, guys. Week 11, he gets injured again. But that weeks 5 to 10, he was actually the fantasy quarterback 2 overall. So I expect that big bounce back from him. Not much has changed. He's still going to have the passing volume, that passing offense, and the weapons. Then we get to starting Dak, who amazing passing, they just have great defenses. Should be your mid to low end quarterback 1s, but Stroud is quarterback 5 in ADP, which is a little scary for me, honestly. Like, I love that man, but he was just the quarterback 15 in the second half of the year, and yeah, they added Diggs, but that defense is so underrated in my opinion. 11 to 20 up next. Jordan Love is that same Burrow, Stroud-like quarterback, just with worse weapons. Who I love at ADP for a value guy is the quarterback 15, Caleb Williams. And if you don't know, he's good. And the number 1 overall pick in fantasy is usually great, believe it or not. 6 of the last 9 have scored 17 points per game, so like a low-end quarterback 1 at minimum. The important guys, though, are the 3 that haven't. What do they have in common? It's Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, and Jared Goff, and they all had horrid situations to walk into. Coaching, weapons, O-line, whatever it is, all of them for most of these guys. Urban Meyer, Jeff Fisher, that's who they were dealing with. Caleb has maybe the best situation ever for a number one quarterback to walk into. And he's one of the best number one quarterback prospects too that went first. His ceiling is super high and you're just getting him at a huge value because we haven't seen it yet in the NFL, and that's okay. Lawrence is that other guy I like. His negative perception brings him down to quarterback 17 in ADP just after the last couple of years. But even last year, he finished at quarterback 15 on bad touchdown luck. He had the biggest gap in touchdowns per attempt compared to his career average, meaning that should naturally rebound, and he's underrated rushing. And then you got this big group of guys, they can sling it, but they're going to piss down their leg the moment they start running. So example I use a lot, Tua was second in passing yards per game last year. Best year of his career, he was awesome, but he was still the quarterback 19 in fantasy points per game. So you're drafting these guys like hoping they're a bottom end quarterback one, which doesn't really give you a real advantage. So instead, I'd rather take a guy like Bryce Young. Give me a second. Quarterback 30 in ADP, so he's free. And his new coach just led Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield to their first career quarterback one seasons. And the year prior, they were backups. So he's done it before, twice, and he can very well do it again. In this range, we're just shooting for upside. Remember, quarterback twos are worthless. Out of this group, it's who has a chance. There's a chance of being a quarterback one. Well, Fields for sure. Like I said earlier, quarterback 5 after week 3 last year. He's the quarterback 6 the year before that. All he needs to do is start, and he's a quarterback 1. He's the only guy in the NFL, besides maybe a couple running backs, that actually benefit. I take that back. He's the only guy in the NFL that would actually benefit from Arthur Smith's offense. The other two are the young guns with just interesting situations. Drake May can run, and that gives us a lot of value. What else does he have going for him? Not much. He may not even start the season, but we've seen rookies like him before, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, break out at the end of their fantasy rookie season, and that is more than possible here. So he's an interesting waiver guy if you don't even want to draft him. I wouldn't expect it unless it's deep league. Second is Will Levis. Similar to Daniels, Jaden Daniels that is, I'm not much of a believer. However, his valuable volume rank is inside that top 10. The Titans' new offense, they bring in Brian Callahan. So he's the offensive coordinator of the Bengals. He moves over to Tennessee. Their run-heavy offense is now projected for the most passing attempts in the entire NFL. So we haven't seen it yet also, but Levis does have that ability to run. He did it in college, so maybe that is also let loose in this new offense. So that's like the hope, is he passes a ton, and then he runs a little bit, and I could see him being a quarterback 1. Over this next week, I'll have more ranking videos coming. We got running back, receiver, even tight end. So thank you guys for watching. Truly means the world to me, and I'll see you very soon.